So for the last 2 years, pretty much every single day, or at least a couple times a week, I will get a call from somebody who is looking to assign a pre-sale condo that they purchased. And in this video, I'm going to go over all the reasons why that is pretty well impossible at the moment. Now, I did do an assignment 2 months ago, but that was a condo that was purchased in 2021 when the prices were way, way lower. And that was a one-off situation where the construction of that project got delayed more than 2 years. It would have completed much earlier, but it kept getting delayed. But for the majority of pre-sale assignments out there right now, 99% of them are really not saleable. And instead of breaking this news one by one, this bad news one by one to each person that calls me, I've decided to make a video that is a one-to-many format just to save myself some time and also stress of having to break that bad news all the time. So for the majority of pre-sales, like I said, probably 99% of them, they were purchased from sometime in 2021 to 2024. And almost every pre-sale that was purchased before prices went higher, pretty much all of them have completed now. Right? So the only assignments in circulation right now are pretty much the ones that were purchased at higher prices. Now, here's the thing. The way pre-sales are typically priced, not always. Every once in a while, one comes up that's priced at resale value, or even sometimes I've seen slightly below resale value. But the large majority of pre-sales will be priced slightly above resale value. So if resale is 500 grand, your pre-sale condo for the same unit might be 515 or 525 or something like that. And not exactly, I'm just explaining how it's typically worked for the majority of pre-sales, right? So for the majority of buyers out there that have purchased a pre-sale condo, unit or market value is 500 grand, they paid 525. And now that 500 grand condo has gone from being 500 grand to, $465,000, let's just say. So now there's a shortfall of 25 plus 35. You have a shortfall of $60,000 there. Again, just very rough numbers, but this remains true for the very, very, very large majority of assignments right now on the market trying to sell. And the problem with this, right? Let's just say the market wasn't terrible. Let's say the market was decent, inventory, like we're in a balanced market and demand was decent and inventory wasn't all-time highs, and you wanted to sell this assignment. Even then, it would be extremely difficult to sell. You can't put it on the MLS. You have to get your realtor to use off-market channels to market it, social media, WhatsApp chats, Facebook groups, and all these, and literally just call realtors that do a lot of business to see if they have a buyer for an assignment that you have. So realtors who sell these have to put a lot more time and effort into them. They're much more difficult to sell. So even under those circumstances, it would be very difficult to sell your assignment. And then on top of that, the buyer who's buying your assignment would have to pay the buyer who's buying your assignment would have to pay GST on it. So even if it's priced at market value, it's not actually market value because the buyer is still going to have to pay that additional 5% GST. And they're buying a contract. They can't walk into the unit. They can't feel the space. They can't see where their furniture is going to fit. They don't know how big the bedroom is going to be, if their bed is going to fit in there, what exposure it has, what it's looking at, any of these things. So there's an increased degree of risk there for the buyer, right? And an assignment sale has a different buyer than a pre-sale buyer. A pre-sale buyer gets the luxury of having a 2 or 3 year long completion, and that's why they're buying pre-sale. When you are selling your assignment, you're usually selling it 1, 2, 2.5 years in to that completion time, meaning now the entire buyer pool changes. It's likely not going to be an investor. It's likely going to be an end user. And an end user actually wants to walk into the unit and feel that space before they buy it. So because they can't do that, there is a higher degree of risk for the buyer that they buy something they don't like. So if market value is 500 grand, well, your assignment might sell for 490 or 485 under normal conditions. And then the buyer still pays more for it anyways because they have to pay the GST as well. So even in normal market conditions, it's going to be difficult to sell your assignment. However, we're not in normal market conditions. We are in terrible market conditions, right? And that being the case, it is pretty much going to be impossible to sell. Then you couple that with the fact that you basically, a lot of them, most of the time, if they were to sell at market value, their entire deposit is gone. And that is excluding the assignment fee they have to pay and the realtor commissions, right? So if we take that scenario, the $500,000 scenario where the buyer paid, let's just say 525, and it's worth whatever I said, 465, okay? Well, there's going to be, I don't know the exact math. Let's just say $15,000 in commissions. Now you're at 450. Let's just say the assignment fee is 1%. So let's just call it $5,000. Now you're at 445. Well, typically a lot of these pre-sales were purchased with a 10% deposit. So you're putting down 10% of, 50,000. That's, or I guess it'd be 10% of 52,000. So you have a $52,000 deposit, but the shortfall is like, 80,000 bucks. So if you sold this unit right now, you would actually have to bring cash to the closing table. Now I should also add, because I don't want to scare the shit out of a bunch of people, but if you purchased a pre-sale in 2024, there's a decent chance that you may not be down on your pre-sale purchase. But even if you wanted to assign that unit right now, the current market conditions would not allow you to do so. So is it impossible to sell an assignment? Probably not. There's probably a couple out there that have enough, juice in that lemon to squeeze. There's enough profit where they can sell it, pay all of those fees, and get out maybe taking a small loss, right? Or potentially just, losing all of their, or not losing their deposit, breaking even. But for 99, probably 0.9% of assignments out there, it doesn't, not only is it just straight up not going to sell in these market conditions, even if you could sell it, you wouldn't want to sell it because you're going to actually have to bring cash to the closing table because your deposit isn't going to cover the shortfall. You're going to have to inject more capital at the closing table to actually sell that unit. So this, again, bad news, and I apologize that I am breaking this bad news, but this is indeed the reality for assignment sales in the market right now. And if you're in this situation, your two options are basically walk away, leave the deposit. Hopefully the developer doesn't sue you, which, 9 out of 10 times probably wouldn't recommend. They don't even have to sue you today. They could, wake up on the wrong side of the bed 2 years from now and sue you, right? So you're just kind of opening, you don't really have peace of mind going that route. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so you need to talk to a lawyer if you're considering doing that. Your other option is closing on it and moving in or renting it out. But for 99 out of 100 people, assigning your unit is not an option at the moment. Now, I know some of you like this video, and if you did, subscribe. If you want to chat with me about buying or selling in the Fraser Valley, link down in the description. Otherwise, I'm that Agent Kelly. I'm making moves to move you. Peace.